don't think about Savannah Marshall. Savannah Marshall think about me. I'm getting ready for Abigail Montez, and then I fight against Emma Cozen in December. And if Savannah Marshall wins in December, we can possibly have a fight. But I don't think about Savannah Marshall. I got way more belts than her.
How are you feeling as you get closer to your second pro fight here in MMA?
I feel really good, actually. I had a great weight cut. I had a great camp, and I learned a lot. So I'm just ready to show everybody that I'm better than my last fight.
Yeah. What did you focus on this camp, if there was anything specifically? Is it always the ground game, given that you have like the boxing on lock?
Sure. It's always the ground game. It's always adding more to my offensive arsenal. It's not just defensive ground game stuff, but also offensive ground game stuff. And then also too, like, first things first, we got to fix the mistakes that happened in the first fight. So of course, that was what first 2 weeks of training camp was about. Seeing why I had such a hard time. Even though Brittany was a brown belt, and if she wasn't able to keep me on the ground, it would have been a problem. But it's like she's a brown belt, but it still was like it was the small details we had to fill in on how to get up and other get-ups, and just more get-ups and more things I could do to get off the ground quicker, how I can have a better IQ on knowing when they're going for the takedown and things of that nature. So we fixed that first before we actually started getting ready for Abigail.
How much more knowledgeable are you today when it comes down to the grappling compared to when you stepped in the cage for your first fight?
It's hard to rate that. I just know that I'm more knowledgeable. I don't know by how much.
Are you happy with the progress you've made on the ground?
I was live rolling in jiu-jitsu last week, and somebody was like, "Oh, look like you're a blue belt," and I was like, "What the hell? No, not a blue belt. It takes 3 years to get there, so don't do that." But I know I'm definitely learning to where I understand it and I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. And then you had mentioned the weight cut. How much do you have to cut to make 155?
Not much. 5 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm always in shape. I fought 168 in boxing, 160. Last fight was at 154 for the Undisputed Championship, so my weight actually fluctuates ups and downs. I think I can go to 147 actually in boxing, but until they cut the check, you ain't gonna see me at 147.
What's the check for 147? What would that have to be?
I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but I got a nice hips and a pretty nice butt, so my butt would have to get a lot smaller, and I don't like that. So at least about $1 million.
Okay.
Just to do that, just to make the weight. Not a fight they can discuss, but it ain't just $1 million flat out period just to lose the weight and lose my shape, because I already don't have no chest. So losing my butt, I'm like a dude. So no, like we're gonna keep the shape, we're gonna keep the size. If they want me to go to 147, pay me for that, because at least if my butt go, I can maybe get a new one.
Right.
Exactly, that stuff costs money, for real.
All right, you have a boxing match next month. How have you been able to balance training MMA and then training for your boxing match in a month or so?
I focus strictly on my MMA fights. And then when I get ready for boxing, which I can do in my sleep, it takes me about 4 weeks to get back in the routine of that. But weight has always been like one of the biggest problems. But my next fight is at 160. This fight is at 155. So I don't have to worry much about weight. So I just have to get in the gym, look at the girl, do the game plan, and we just go from there. But it's not hard balancing both of them.
What does it say for you that you actually made the leap? And there's so many MMA stars, Amanda Nunes, Chris Cyborg, they said they will make the leap to boxing. You've actually done it from boxing to MMA. What does that say for you that they haven't done it but you have?
It just shows that I'm the GOAT, that's all. And that I believe in my skills. Like, people were saying that, Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg and maybe a few other girls have better hands than me. That's what they were saying. But I know for a fact that I have the best hands in boxing. Those girls will not ever come over. I believe Chris Cyborg may go over to boxing, but any of the other girls in MMA, I don't think they can really do, that they can beat the champions in boxing. But me, I have great potential over here, and I think it shows like my heart, because jumping from sport to sport is actually, boxing and MMA is a big leap, and it's scary because there's so many different arts and there's so many more ways you can lose. But in boxing, you just have to worry about the hands. So, it's easier. I think girls going to MMA going to boxing, but going to boxing and MMA is way harder.
How do you think Cyborg would do in a boxing match?
Depends on what you fought against. I think she'd beat Cecilia Brækhus. I think she can give a lot of girls at 140, 147. I even say 54 problems. Yeah, because Chris, I worked in box. Me and her sparred before.
Person. One thing that in MMA is, while it's still growing in itself, one of the fields that hasn't been a lot is seeing a lot of African American women in the sport. For any African woman who will be watching your fight coming up, what would you try to tell them to enlighten them, or just try to say it is fun, it is something you would enjoy doing?
I think MMA and boxing, I just feel like you really have to love it to do it. But what I would tell any African American girl watching is, like, they look at MMA as like a brutal sport, right? You see all the blood, you see the cuts, you see the elbows and the knees and stuff like that. And it kind of makes, it made me look at it as, I don't really like that. You know, it's only until I decided, like, you know what, I want to give it a try, to where now I understand it a bit more. But it is a brutal sport. But also, too, I would just tell them, just learn one sport at a time. Learn jiu-jitsu is for anybody. Like, you don't even have to be athletic to learn jiu-jitsu. It's for the smaller guy to beat the bigger guy. Jiu-jitsu is for everybody. That's what I'll say about that. Wrestling is more body to body thing. Wrestling is super hard, but it's all about learning it. And then with boxing, the part of boxing, how you gonna take getting hit in the face? It's never an easy task to take on when you're like, gotta go in here and do this again. Might get hit in the face today. It's really a hard decision to make, especially, even in sparring. So I would tell them that it takes hard work. It takes you to have an open mind and actually learn these things, and it also takes you to respect each mixed martial art. You have to respect each one in order to be successful in MMA.
Person, you just mentioned kind of the violent aspects of MMA right there. I'm curious, have any bare knuckle promotions ever approached you just reaching out?
I think they did, but I have a problem with that. You know, it's a lot of deaths in boxing recently, and I feel like the rules are put in place with the gloves for our protection. Going bare knuckle to me is actually like, it's cruelty to me. Yeah, because in boxing, all you can do is get hit with the hands, and mostly where everybody's aiming at is the head. Like, yeah, you go to the body, you have some great body punches, but it's all to the head. Then you're getting hit with somebody bare knuckles, and you're hitting them in the head, and they're hitting you in the head. I think it's just not fair to the fighters. You know, I would do it because I have such great hands, but I just think it just cuts and, head trauma and stuff would become more of a bigger issue, and they put the gloves in place for the boxer's protection, and I'm all about the boxer's protection.
Claressa, earlier this year, you talked with Scoop B about how one of the things that bothered you was that women in boxing don't get the respect that they should. And then MMA, women are practically, put on a completely different level. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that women athletes who, you work just as hard as any other woman does, if not more? Why does a woman boxer not get the same respect as a woman in MMA?
Because the men who are in charge of boxing don't make those decisions. All they have to do is cut the check, and they make a decision who's main event or who they think is worthy. They don't feel like female fighters are worthy. And I don't know why. I think that I've proven myself over and over and over again. And I never fought pay-per-view on Showtime. I fought the main event, and I've sold out arenas. But Jake Paul have 1 million subscribers, and he can fucking go fight on Showtime pay-per-view, and ain't got not one Olympic gold medal, no amateur background, no nothing. So it's like, what do I have to do being a 12-time world champ, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, decorated amateur background, 7 wins and 1 loss? What else can I do? It's like they don't want to see our worth and give us those opportunities unless they're giving it to us beneath a man. And I'm not doing that. Well, I'm not doing it under Jake Paul.
Do you think that'll ever change? I mean, does that turn you off a little bit from the sport of boxing? That, man, what? If you can, who can?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Have you ever thought about being a promoter, being into the promotion part of it?
Back to that question that you said before I skipped that. I don't know what it'll take, honestly. If not me, then who? I was able to break that barrier of fighting on Showtime main event and fighting on TV and premium cable. I was able to do that. I was able to break the thing of a woman not ever being paid over 50K, 100K. I fought for 350K, which is my high right now. Actually, in the future, it's going to be more. And they'll be announcing that soon when they actually announce my whole boxing thing I have coming up. But, it's really just them just respecting the sport, you know, respecting us women. And all they get to pick. We have great stories. We have great skills, you know. We fight the best. We put on great fights that's entertaining. They're just looking at us and they're like, oh yeah, they bring some value, but they don't see us as being valuable as their other top guys. And they don't want to give us the opportunity to get built up either. So I don't know what boxing's going to do, but I'm happy that I'm a part of the fight with women's boxing equality, and hopefully they don't see it as them being attacked, but they actually open their eyes and realize, like, look, 100 equals 100. Whatever you do for the men, you do for the women. It's simple. It's not rocket science, but to them, it just, I don't know. I ain't even finna frustrate myself. Next question.
We have time for one more.
He
I
asked me something.
asked you if you were ever considered being a promoter or going to the promotion side. That's something that would interest you.
I'm 26. I'm focusing on my career right now. I do want to sign some fighters and start like fighting in Michigan, but it's a hard business to understand. I have to learn more about it.
Alright, so last time you went viral by saying you could beat up Jake Paul. People were surprised by that for whatever reason. What's your reaction to people being surprised by that?
Please. That's my reaction to that. Like, listen, I don't know what I do. We here. I don't know what world people live in to where they think a man who has not been to the Olympics, right? A man who has not fought professional. Like, there are a lot of women in boxing that can beat up men, especially a regular old Joe like Jake Paul. Like, come on, like, it don't even make sense what they be talking about. If I was to spar Jake, which I know is too much to actually get a fight with him because that would be too embarrassing, right? But if we were to spar, I could use one hand, my jab. I don't even have to use the banger. I use my jab, and I could out jab, out hook, and uppercut him, and embarrass him. That's how skilled I am. It's not a shot at Jake Paul like, oh, you're trash. It's like, you're not as great. You're not as great of a boxer as me. And if you are, go to the Olympics, medal, go. Because I sparred against those guys too, who are Olympic silver medalists, gold medalists. I sparred against all of them. Jake Paul couldn't grace the ring with those guys because they would destroy him just like I would. It's not disrespect to him. It's just like, look, I'm a skilled boxer. Respect it and know it. Just because I'm a woman, don't get the tripping now. Like, this is real life stuff. I box for real. I'm not a play fighter. I box for real.
A month ago I asked you about Abby, and I asked you what's in store for her, and you said you were going to add her up. And is the energy still the same? And also, what is the prediction for the bout?
Yeah, that's the goal. Because I know her goal is to mess me up. So it's either me or her, and I'm definitely going to choose me, Team Shields. And I feel like people are saying like, oh, you know, they gave you an easy fight, you know, she's 2-0 and she's not that experienced. It was like, are you guys forgetting that I'm 1-0? Like, I'm 1-0 in MMA. I'm not 11 or 12-0. I haven't been doing MMA for a long time. She has the experience. She has a kickboxing background. She actually boxed in the amateurs. Like, to me, she brings more to the table than Brittany did, even though she's not a brown belt, but she has been working the ground game. I watched her fight. She take girls down. She ground and pound girls. She throws kicks. She throws punches and combinations and stuff. So I have to be very alert for this fight, and it's a different kind of fight. So I don't know why they're marking her off, but I'm definitely coming and looking for a very competitive fight. And she gonna know that she was in a fight after the fight, because that's how serious I'm taking it. Like, she's good, and in order for me to not get messed up by her, I have to mess her up, and that's what I plan to do on Wednesday.
Thank you very much.
Okay.